Tom Reed stood at the back of the massive amphitheater, his hands clenched into fists as he watched the alien council members laugh at the closing scene of The Last Goodbye. The movie had won 3 Academy Awards back on Earth, but here in the gleaming halls of the Galactic Entertainment Council, it was being torn apart like a child's drawing pinned to an art critic's wall. "Notice how they manipulate the visual input to force emotional responses," said the tall, silver-skinned council member, pointing at the screen with one of its 4 arms. "The humans add this thing they call music to scenes where nothing logical is happening. Just 2 creatures staring at each other." The chamber filled with clicking sounds and high-pitched whistles, the alien equivalent of mocking laughter. Tom felt his face grow hot. The scene they were ridiculing had moved millions to tears on Earth. It showed a daughter saying farewell to her dying father, forgiving him for his past mistakes. Now it was being dissected like a lab specimen. "And observe the illogical moisture from their visual organs," another council member added, their crystal-like body reflecting the screen's light. "The humans claim this is a natural response to strong emotions. Yet they deliberately create entertainment to trigger this leakage." More alien laughter echoed through the chamber. Tom looked around at the other human representatives. Jane from the Cultural Exchange Office was writing furious notes on her tablet. Mark from the Diplomatic Corps was trying to maintain a neutral expression, but his jaw was tense. The council's entertainment analysis continued, growing more brutal with each scene. They criticized the unrealistic plot devices of sacrifice and love. They mocked the concept of hope as statistically improbable. One particularly harsh member suggested that human entertainment should be classified as primitive psychological warfare rather than art. "The core flaw," announced the head council member, their metallic voice echoing through the chamber, "lies in the human obsession with unpredictable outcomes. True entertainment should follow logical patterns. It should reinforce order, not chaos. This," they waved a limb dismissively at the screen, "this is merely emotional manipulation disguised as storytelling." Tom had spent 30 years making films. He'd started with a borrowed camera in his parents' garage, worked his way up through indie productions, and finally made it to Hollywood. The Last Goodbye was his masterpiece, a story about forgiveness, growth, and the bonds that connect all living things, or so he had thought. In conclusion, the head council member continued, "We find human entertainment to be unsuitable for galactic distribution. Their seat on the Entertainment Council will be probationary until they can demonstrate an understanding of proper storytelling principles." As the council members filed out of the chamber, Tom noticed something strange. One of them, smaller than the others with blue-tinted skin, lingered behind. Instead of leaving, they stood studying the final frozen frame of the movie. The moment when the daughter takes her father's hand, both of them smiling through their tears. The blue alien tilted their head, moved closer to the screen, then quickly turned away when they noticed Tom watching. They hurried out of the chamber, but Tom had seen something in their gesture, something that gave him an idea. If one alien could be intrigued by human emotion, maybe others could be too. They'd just never been shown the right story in the right way. Tom pulled out his tablet and began making notes. The council wanted logic. He'd give them logic, but he'd wrap it around the most powerful human truth he knew, that feelings weren't a weakness to be eliminated, but a strength to be embraced. As he worked, a message flashed across his screen, an official notice from the council. Earth had one standard galactic year to produce a film that could emotionally move at least one alien species, or they would lose their seat in the entertainment division entirely. Tom smiled. They'd just given him exactly what he needed, a deadline. Tom walked through the quiet halls of the Earth Embassy, his footsteps echoing against the metal floors. The morning after the council's harsh judgment, he had called an emergency meeting. Now he just needed people crazy enough to join his mission. The meeting room looked out over the alien city. Tall crystal towers stretched into the purple sky, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 distant suns. At the long table sat 3 people Tom had carefully chosen. Dr. Ann Miller was reading something on her tablet, her gray hair tied back in a neat bun. She had spent 40 years studying how different species think and feel. If anyone could help them understand alien emotions, it was her. Next to her, Jack Thompson was already playing with the room's hologram controls. The young special effects artist could make anything look real. His last movie had convinced audiences that a man could breathe underwater without any special equipment. But it was the third person who made the others nervous. The blue-skinned alien Tom had noticed in the council chamber sat at the far end of the table. They had introduced themselves simply as Blue. "Thanks for coming," Tom said, standing at the head of the table. "You all know why we're here. We have 1 year to make a movie that can make aliens cry." "Impossible," Jack said, but he was smiling. "I like it." Dr. Miller looked up from her tablet. "Actually, many alien species have tear ducts or similar organs. They just don't use them for emotional release. The real challenge isn't physical, it's psychological." Blue spoke for the first time, their voice musical and strange. "My people believe emotions are a primitive survival tool, something to be controlled, not celebrated." They paused. "But I had always wondered if we are wrong." Tom clicked a button, and the room's screens came to life. They showed clips from great human movies, a mother protecting her child, friends sacrificing for each other, strangers showing kindness. "The council thinks we're being illogical," Tom said, "but there's logic in emotion. Love makes us protect each other. Fear keeps us alive. Hope makes us solve impossible problems." He looked at each person in turn. "We don't need to teach aliens to be human. We need to help them see the logic in their own feelings." Dr. Miller nodded slowly. "Every species has something they care about, something they would fight for. We just need to find it. And I can make it look real for any kind of alien eyes," Jack added. "Multiple color spectrums, different perception speeds, whatever they need." Blue stood up, their skin shifting to a deeper shade. "The council will fight this. They believe emotion leads to chaos, that it weakens us." They walked to the window, looking out at the city. "But I have studied human history. Your emotions did not destroy you. They helped you reach the stars." Tom smiled. This was his team. A human scientist who understood alien minds, a technical genius who could bridge alien senses, and an alien brave enough to question their own beliefs. "We have 1 year," he said. "We need to learn everything we can about how aliens think, feel, and see the world. Then we need to tell a story that works for all of them." Dr. Miller was already making notes. "I'll start with basic neurological studies. Every species has some form of pleasure and pain response. We can build from there." "I'll work on a new display system," Jack said. "Something that can adapt to any alien visual or auditory system." Blue turned back from the window. "I will help you understand our stories." And they hesitated. "I will tell you why some of us secretly watch human movies when no one is looking." Tom looked at his small team. The council had meant to shame humanity. Instead, they had given them a chance to do something no one had ever done before, to help the galaxy understand why feelings matter. "Let's get to work," he said. "We have a movie to make." 3 months had passed since the team began their work. The project room in the Earth Embassy was now covered wall-to-wall with alien data. Holographic displays showed hundreds of alien entertainment programs, all running at once. Dr. Miller stood in the center of the room, frowning at the patterns she saw. "Every alien story follows the same basic rules," she said, pointing to different screens. "The hero always makes the most logical choice. There are no surprises, no risks." Tom watched an alien drama about a space trader. The main character had just found a valuable cargo floating in space. Instead of taking it, they spent 10 minutes calculating the statistical probability of it being a trap. In the end, they left it behind. "They're afraid," Blue said quietly. Everyone turned to look at them. "My people, all the council races, we're afraid of uncertainty. Our stories teach us to always choose the safest path." Jack was sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by floating screens showing alien biology data. "But that's not how real life works," he said. "Sometimes you have to take chances." "Exactly," Dr. Miller replied. "And that's what we found in our research. Even the most logical alien species face unexpected challenges. They feel fear, worry, attachment. They just don't acknowledge these feelings." Tom walked to the main screen, where they had been collecting examples of alien behavior that didn't match their stories. There was footage of a crystal being protecting its young from a storm, even though staying safe inside would have been more logical. Another clip showed silver-skinned aliens rushing into a burning building to save their historical records. "They act on emotion," Tom said. "They just don't talk about it." Blue moved closer to the screen, their skin rippling with changing colors. "In my childhood, I once broke an ancient family artifact. Instead of reporting me, my parent unit claimed it was an accident. It wasn't logical to lie, but they did it to protect me." Dr. Miller quickly added this story to their growing database. "Loved," she said. "Even among species that claim not to feel it, parents still protect their children. And they keep records of their past," Jack added, pointing to the burning building footage. "They care about their history, their culture. That's not just logic." Tom started pacing, something he always did when an idea was forming. "So we need a story that shows them what they already know, deep down. That pure logic isn't enough. That feelings make us stronger, not weaker." Blue's skin turned a deep shade of purple, their version of excitement. "I have been studying human entertainment forms. You often use something called mirror characters. Characters that help the audience see themselves." "A mirror character," Tom repeated slowly. "What if our main character was like them? Someone who believes in pure logic, who thinks emotions are dangerous. Until something happens that logic can't solve," Dr. Miller finished. "Something that forces them to confront their buried feelings." Jack was already pulling up his special effects tests. "We could show their emotional journey through color and movement, make the world literally change as they start to feel more. And the story needs to be about choice," Blue added. "My people value individual choice above all else. If the character chooses to embrace emotion, despite the risks, then the audience might make the same choice," Tom said. He could see it now. A story about discovering that what you thought was a weakness was actually your greatest strength. Dr. Miller checked her data one last time. "We have proof that every alien species feels emotions. They just buried them under layers of logic and rules. Our job isn't to teach them how to feel. It's to show them why feelings matter," Tom finished. "And I think I know exactly how to do it." The film studio they built inside the Earth Embassy looked nothing like a normal movie set. Instead of regular cameras, strange devices hung from the ceiling, designed to capture light in ways alien eyes could see. The walls could change color and texture to match any alien world. Even the air could shift its composition to help alien actors breathe comfortably. "Ready for the first scene?" Tom asked, standing behind a control panel covered in blinking lights. Their movie, Stellar Dawn, was finally starting production. They had 6 months left until the council's deadline. The main actor was a tall alien from Blue's species. Like Blue, they had skin that could change color, making them perfect for showing emotional changes. The actor, named Ray, had been secretly watching human movies for years. "Remember," Dr. Miller said to Ray, "your character believes emotions are a mistake, a leftover problem from evolution. But deep down, you feel things you can't explain." Ray nodded, their skin turning a focused gray color. In the first scene, their character would discover ancient records showing their species once had rich emotional lives, before some long-ago leaders decided feelings were too dangerous. Jack sat at his effects station, fingers dancing over the controls. "All spectrum cameras ready," he said. "Crystal beings will see the heat patterns. Silver skins will catch the ultraviolet layers. And I've got the time dilation working for the fast-thinking species." They started filming. Ray moved through the scene, their skin shifting subtly as their character found the hidden truth. Tom watched the multiple video feeds, making sure the story worked for every type of alien vision. The secret, Blue had told them, is to make it feel like a logical mystery at first. Let them think they're watching a normal detective story. Then slowly reveal the emotional core. They filmed for weeks. In each scene, Ray's character discovered more about their species' past. They learned how their ancestors sang, danced, and created art, how they fell in love and grieved losses, how they fought to protect each other, not just because it was logical, but because they cared. The hardest scene is next, Tom said one morning. It was the moment when Ray's character had to choose between staying emotionally numb and accepting the pain and joy of feelings. They had built a special set for this scene. The room could display memories from the character's life. But now, instead of just seeing the logical choices they had made, they would feel the emotions they had ignored. How will other aliens understand what I'm feeling? Ray asked, preparing for the scene. Jack smiled and pressed a button. The room filled with colors that moved like water. They'll see it in ways that make sense to them. Crystal beings will see temperature changes. Silver skins will watch energy patterns shift. Everyone will experience it differently, but they'll all understand. Dr. Miller had helped write the scene using terms from each species' own history. Every alien culture has stories about big changes, she said, about facing fear and choosing growth. We're just reminding them. They filmed the choice scene in one long take. Ray stood in the middle of the swirling colors, their skin changing through every shade as their character faced their fears. When they finally chose to embrace their emotions, accepting both the pain and joy ahead, even the alien film crew seemed moved. That's what we need, Tom said quietly, watching the monitors. That moment of recognition, when they see themselves in the story. Blue, who had been quiet all day, spoke up. My people have a saying. Truth has many forms. They mean it as a warning, to be careful of deception. But maybe it means something else too. Maybe emotional truth is just as real as logical truth. Tom looked at the scene they had filmed, playing across dozens of different displays, each showing it in a way a different species could understand. Let's hope the council sees it that way, he said. We got one chance to change their minds. The Galactic Entertainment Council's main theater was packed. Representatives from 20 different alien species sat in specially designed seats. Some floated in liquid chambers, others perched on crystal formations. All of them had come to judge Earth's final attempt at proper entertainment. Tom stood at the back of the theater, his heart pounding. A year of work had led to this moment. Dr. Miller stood beside him, checking data readings that would track the audience's physical responses. Jack was in the control room, making sure each species would see and hear the movie in their own unique way. The council is ready, Blue whispered, joining them. Their skin was such a pale blue it was almost white, a sign of extreme nervousness in their species. The head council members stood up, their silver skin gleaming. We are gathered to witness Earth's submission. Let us hope they have learned the value of logical storytelling. A few clicking laughs echoed through the chamber. The lights dimmed. The movie began. At first, the alien audience watched with their usual cold attention. The opening scenes showed their kind of story. A logical character following clear rules, solving problems with careful thought. Tom saw several council members nodding in approval. Then came the scene where Ray's character found the ancient records, the truth about their ancestors' emotional lives. Tom heard small sounds of surprise as each alien saw the story in their own way. Heat patterns for some, energy waves for others, but all telling the same truth. Look, Dr. Miller whispered, pointing to her readings. Their attention patterns are changing. They're not just analyzing anymore. They're experiencing. The story continued. Ray's character discovered more about their past, about how their species had chosen to lock away their feelings. Some of the council members shifted in their seats. A crystal being's surface started to flicker with unusual patterns. They're responding to the narrative threads we wove in from their own histories, Blue said softly. Each species is seeing reflections of their own past choices. Then came the big scene, the moment of choice. Ray stood in the swirling colors, facing the decision between safe numbness and risky feeling. The theater was completely silent. Even the usual sounds of aliens taking notes had stopped. The council head leaned forward slightly, the first time anyone had seen them show such interest. On screen, Ray's character began to feel everything they had been denying. The loss of a friend they had never properly grieved. The joy of discovery they had dismissed as irrelevant. The love for their work they had called mere duty. A small sound came from the crystal being section. One of them had started to vibrate in a way that created musical notes, something their species only did in moments of strong emotion. Then it happened. As Ray's character finally embraced their feelings, accepting both the pain and beauty of emotion, a single tear rolled down the council head's silver cheek. They reached up to touch it, looking confused and amazed. More reactions spread through the audience. Crystal beings chimed with complex melodies. Liquid-dwelling aliens created patterns in their chambers. Even the most logical species showed signs of being moved. Subtle changes in color, shifts in posture, tiny breaks in their usual perfect composure. The movie ended with Ray's character looking at a sunset, feeling its beauty for the first time. The screen faded to black. For a long moment, nobody moved or spoke. Finally, the council head stood. Everyone expected them to speak formally, to give their logical analysis. Instead, they simply said, "I understand now." Their voice carried a warmth that had never been heard before in the council chamber. Tom felt Blue's hand grip his arm in excitement. Dr. Miller was frantically saving her readings. And there, in the darkness of an alien theater, humanity had done something remarkable. They had helped the galaxy remember how to feel. 1 month after the premiere of Stellar Dawn, Tom sat in his office watching reports from across the galaxy. On every screen, aliens were talking about the movie. But they weren't just talking. They were feeling. "Look at this," Dr. Miller said, rushing in with her tablet. She showed him footage from a crystal being colony. Young crystal beings were trying something new. They were making music with their bodies, just like their representative had done in the theater. The songs weren't perfectly structured like their usual mathematical harmonies. These were emotional, wild, and beautiful. And this, she continued, switching to another video. A group of silver-skinned aliens had started painting with colors they couldn't even see, trying to show others how emotions looked to them. Their logical art galleries were now full of swirling patterns that made no mathematical sense, but somehow felt right. Blue entered the office, their skin glowing with excitement. "The movie is being shown in every major city," they said. "But something interesting is happening. Each species is seeing something different in it." They showed more reports. The liquid-dwelling aliens saw it as a story about breaking free from old restrictions. The crystal beings thought it was about finding new ways to communicate. The silver skins saw it as a scientific discovery about the true nature of consciousness. "They're all right," Tom said, smiling. "That's the beauty of art. It means something different to everyone." But not everyone was happy about these changes. Jack burst into the office, looking worried. "You need to see the news," he said, turning on the main screen. A group of conservative aliens was protesting outside the council building. They held signs warning about the dangers of emotional contamination. One crystal being leader was giving a speech about protecting their logical purity from human influence. "They're scared," Dr. Miller said, watching the protests. "Change is always frightening, especially for species that hate uncertainty." "But look at the crowd," Blue pointed out. In the background of the protest, hundreds of young aliens from different species were gathering. They were sharing stories, showing each other art, and even trying to learn human-style dancing. Tom's communication device buzzed. It was a message from the council head, the same one who had cried at the premiere. They needed to talk. In the council chamber, Things had changed. The seats were no longer arranged in perfect geometric patterns. Some representatives had added colors to their usual plain robes. The crystal being was quietly humming to itself. "Your movie has caused quite a stir," the council head said. Their silver skin now shifted colors slightly as they spoke, something their species had always been capable of, but had considered too emotional to use. "Some say you have damaged our societies. Others say you have freed them." Tom waited, unsure what this meant for Earth's position in the council. "We have been monitoring the effects," the council head continued. "Crime has not increased. Productivity has not decreased. But something else has happened." They paused, struggling with unfamiliar emotions. People are happier. They are connecting with each other in new ways. They are living more fully. A screen lit up behind them, showing scenes from across the galaxy. Alien children playing with more freedom. Artists creating new forms of expression. Scientists allowing themselves to feel wonder at their discoveries. "We thought emotion was the opposite of logic," the council head said. "We were wrong. They are partners. Two ways of understanding the universe." They stood up straighter. "Your movie didn't just earn Earth a place in the council. It showed us a better way to live." Tom looked at his team. The scientist who understood alien minds, the artist who helped them see beauty, and the alien who was brave enough to feel. Together, they had done more than make a movie. They had started a revolution of the heart. 6 months after Stellar Dawn changed the galaxy, the Earth Embassy hosted a very special screening. The movie theater was filled with an unusual mix. Young aliens sitting next to human children, each wearing translation devices that let them talk to each other. Tom watched from the back as the lights dimmed. This wasn't just another showing of their movie. It was the first day of a new program, cultural exchange through art. The council had not only kept Earth's membership, but had created an entirely new division with Tom's team in charge. "They're so excited," Dr. Miller whispered, watching a group of crystal being children vibrate with happy chimes as they shared snacks with human kids. "They've never been allowed to show enthusiasm like this before." The movie began playing. Even though most of these aliens had seen it before, they watched with fresh wonder. But this time, something was different. The alien children kept turning to their human seatmates, pointing out things they noticed, sharing how the same scene looked through their different eyes. In the middle row, Blue sat with a group of their own species children. Their skin colors shifted freely now, showing every emotion without shame. "Look," they said to the children, "see how the characters' feelings change the world around them." That's how humans see emotions, as forces that can change everything. Jack had created a special display system for this screening. Above each seat, small holograms showed how other species were seeing the same scene. Human children gasped in delight as they saw the crystal being's view of pure energy patterns, while alien youngsters were fascinated by the human perspective of color and shadow. "Remember when they said we only made emotional manipulation?" Tom said to Dr. Miller. She smiled, checking her latest research data. "Now they're teaching our movie in their science academies," she replied. "They're studying how emotions affect decision-making, how empathy improves problem-solving. Some species have even started therapy programs to help them reconnect with their feelings." The scene everyone waited for began, the moment of choosing emotion over numbness. Tom watched as alien and human children reached for each other's hands, sharing this powerful moment together. Even though they had different bodies, different senses, and different ways of thinking, they all understood the importance of this choice. After the movie, they held a discussion circle. One by one, children from each species shared what they felt. A young crystal being played a song of hope. A silver-skinned child showed a painting of friendship. A human girl shared a poem about understanding others. "This is what we really made," Tom said quietly to his team. "Not just a movie, a bridge." Blue nodded, their skin glowing with proud purple swirls. The council archives now have a new category, emotional education. They're collecting stories from every species, looking for moments when feelings led to better choices than pure logic. "And look at this," Jack said, showing them his tablet. Their movie had inspired new technology. Aliens were developing ways to share feelings across species barriers. Artists were creating new forms of entertainment that combined logical patterns with emotional journeys. As the children left the theater, still chatting excitedly with their new friends from other worlds, the council head appeared. They wore a new robe that shifted colors with their emotions, something that would have been unthinkable a year ago. "We thought we were testing Earth's ability to tell proper stories," they said to Tom. "Instead, you tested our ability to understand ourselves." They looked at the departing children. "These young ones will grow up in a different galaxy, a better one. They won't have to choose between logic and emotion. They'll understand that the strongest decisions come from using both." Tom watched as the last crystal being child gave a human girl a high five, their crystalline arm carefully tapping the girl's small hand. In that simple gesture, he saw the future, a galaxy where different species could share not just knowledge, but feelings, where stories could bridge any gap, where emotion wasn't weakness, but the force that bound all living things together. Humanity hadn't just proven themselves to the galaxy. They had helped the galaxy remember what it meant to be truly alive.